Hi, everyone. We're just going to wait a minute to make sure that everybody can join before we get started. Okay, I think we can get going. Well, welcome, everyone. Congratulations again on receiving your Gilman Scholarship for your study or intern abroad program. And welcome to our Recipients Ask Me Anything webinar. The Benjamin A. Gilman International Scholarship Program is a program of the U.S. Department of State with funding provided by the U.S. government and supported in its implementation by the Institute of International Education, IIE. My name is Maya, and I'm a Gilman Regional Advisor, and I'm joined today by my colleague, James. We will share a quick overview of next steps and requirements, and then we'll dive into your questions. So please start submitting them in the Q&A box as we go along. However, we do ask that you keep in mind that if they are very specific, it's often best to contact your Gilman Regional Advisor directly. As you know, this presentation is being recorded, and we will email out a link to everyone who registered for this webinar afterwards. Okay. So you may be wondering where to start. We recommend first reading the award letter instructions, which include helpful information and links to additional resources. We also encourage you to review the Gilman Scholar Checklist, which allows you to track all Gilman Scholar requirements before, during, and after your abroad program. Gilman tasks and submissions are completed through the online portal, and there are generally 4 steps to receiving your funds. So 1, accept your award and update your program details as needed. 2, complete the terms and conditions. 3, complete all requirements on the recipient tab of your portal, including uploading all required documents. And 4, the Gilman team will review your documents and let you know if any changes are required before approving. On the dashboard tab of your portal, you will select Click here to accept or decline your award. In the scholarship decision form, which you have just opened, please carefully review each item to confirm it is correct or to update it. We ask that you pay close attention to your program dates. Any discrepancies with dates can lead to disapproved documents, which delays receiving your funds. After you have accepted your award, the recipient tab will open, but don't forget to sign the terms and conditions on the dashboard tab before you move on. If you are changing programs entirely, you will also inform us through the scholarship decision form by updating the relevant sections. We ask that you check out our program change guide, which is linked in the award letter instructions for steps to changing your program and FAQs. We also want you to remember that the program changes must meet the eligibility requirements, the same eligibility requirements as when you applied. The Gilman team will review your requested updates and open a program change tile as needed. Also, please pay attention to the application time cycle time frame for which you are awarded. So for our October 2025 recipients, your programs must start between December 2025 and October 31st, 2026. If you don't have a new program yet, you can still accept your award and edit your program details later. After you've accepted your award, in the dashboard tab, you will see a scholarship decision form. You can edit your program details by clicking on View/Edit Decision Confirmation. So as you know, the Gilman program is awarding for our October 2025 Gilman recipients, so we are receiving a very high volume of inquiries from students nationwide. We encourage you to review all the resources we have for you prior to contacting the Gilman program for assistance. Many are in your Gilman portal, but we also want to make sure that you check out the recipient section of our Gilman website. In particular, we recommend reviewing the award guidelines page, where you can find detailed instructions and videos about your required documents. the Receiving Your Scholarship page for information about payments and Zelle, and the Recipients FAQ page for answers to many common questions. One more reminder before we start answering your questions. So please write them, drop them in the chat. Before you upload your acceptance letter, insurance, and STEP documentation, please don't forget to ensure that your program dates in the portal match your documentation. You check this by looking at the scholarship decision form in the dashboard tab of your Gilman portal. Please note the official program dates do not include any time in the US or any travel day. Okay, so we can get started to the AMA portion of this AMA. Let's see about the Q&A. It actually doesn't look like we have any in the chat. Are you seeing the same thing as me, James?
Yeah, I don't see any questions in the chat so far, so feel free to go ahead and put your questions in there using the Q&A function in this Zoom call. And as those are coming in, I'll go ahead and touch base a little bit on the Fly America Act. We do receive a lot of questions from our recipients about whether you can use your scholarship to pay for your flight. And that really depends on the flights that you take. So in order to use your Gilman funds to pay for your flights, you must comply with the Fly America Act, and you have a few different options to be able to comply with that act. First, you can book your flights using a U.S. flag carrier, which is an airline owned by an American company. For example, Delta, American, and United Airlines all meet these requirements. Your second option is to book your flights using code sharing. Many U.S. airlines have agreements with foreign air carriers, and code sharing occurs when two or more airlines code the same flight as if it was their own. And so compliance with the Fly America Act is satisfied when the U.S. flag carrier's designator code is present in the flight number of the airline ticket, boarding pass, or on the documentation for an electronic ticket. In other words, your flight might be run by a foreign airline, but you can still book it as long as you have the U.S. airline code on your ticket. And the airline codes are, for example, American is AA, Delta is DL, and United is UA. So as long as you have those codes on your ticket, then you can still book the flight. You can also book your flights in compliance with the Open Skies Agreement. There are a few different bilateral or multilateral agreements between the US government and other foreign countries that allow for travelers to use foreign air carriers for these countries' government-funded international travel. There are 4 Open Skies agreements. We have one with Australia, the European Union, Japan, and Switzerland that meet the requirements of the Fly America Act. And it's also worth noting that United Kingdom Airlines are not eligible for the Open Skies Agreement. We do have Fly America Act guidance on our website, and we would encourage you to go check that out if you have any further questions. And you can also reach out to your Gilman Regional Advisor if you have a specific question. We do also see some cases where recipients will ask if the flight is included in their program fees, if that is okay, if that's compliant with the Fly America Act. If that is the case, you do need to find out from your study abroad advisor or your program provider which flights they purchased on your behalf and whether they comply with the Fly America Act. If they do, then you're all set. But if they do not comply with Fly America, you'll need to find out how much those flights cost and pay that portion of your program fees out of pocket, not using Gilman funds. All right, I think that
James?
should cover it for Fly
Yeah,
America. Maya, anything else to add, or do you want to jump into some of the questions we've received?
I think we can jump into some of the questions. So the first one I have here is, will there be another preparing to go abroad pre-departure webinar in the future? So the answer is yes. We tend to do them around key departure times for many students. So we had one in December in anticipation of January starts. We'll likely host one in May or June in anticipation of summer programs. But if you are interested, we can send you the recording of our pre-departure webinar that we had in December. Feel free to just email your Gilman Regional Advisor and we can send you the link.
Okay, we have a question here that says, if we're planning to be in the country longer than the program date, what dates should we put for the documentation? So the documents that you submit to us should include or overlap your program dates. And We will check that for the insurance document, the step registration, and your acceptance letter. But if you are planning to be in the host country longer than your program, you can submit that information in the dashboard of your Gilman portal. We have both program dates in the dashboard, and we also have in-country dates. So if you're planning to get to the country before your program starts or stay after it ends, you can indicate that information to us in the portal.
Thanks. We have a couple of questions about international health insurance. So the first one is about an international health insurance form that the student has from their university, but it does not contain their name. So in cases like this, we really recommend that you contact your study abroad advisor to request documentation that includes your name. If they don't have it from the insurance company yet, sometimes they're only available like 2 weeks before your program starts, then we can accept a letter from your study abroad advisor, and we have that template linked in the document collection tile. The other question about international health insurance is about using a domestic US plan for coverage. So in the vast majority of cases, study abroad programs and or your home university will automatically enroll you in international health insurance as part of your program fees. So if you have not asked yet, please reach out to your study abroad advisor and or your study abroad program contact to see if this is the case for you. Again, you can ask them for a letter that meets our requirements if the actual insurance documentation is not yet available. Overall, occasionally students do use domestic insurance that has an international component to it. However, you have to make sure that the documentation you're submitting meets our requirements. It has to have your full name, your coverage dates, which match or exceed your program dates, that it is international in some way, so worldwide coverage or coverage in Spain if that's where you're studying abroad. It also has to list the 3 coverage types that we require, which is accident and sickness coverage, emergency medical evacuation, and repatriation of remains.
Okay, thank you, Maya. We do have a question about follow-on service projects here. It says, what adjustments can we make to the follow-on service project if our study abroad program has changed? So we do allow program changes and we do allow revisions to the follow-on service project. If you would like to pursue a project that is different than what you initially proposed in your application materials, please just reach out to your study abroad advisor. We do allow revisions to pursue different kinds of projects, but we do like to keep that information on file as we review the follow-on service projects when they're submitted. Occasionally, we will reference the application materials and the information that you gave us as to what you initially planned to carry out. So please just contact your regional advisor and they will update you on information that they need in order to update your file as to what follow-on service project you're planning to pursue.
Thanks, James. I'm seeing a few questions here around program dates. So I first wanted to go ahead and share that when we look at program dates, we look at the official start date of your program is the day your study or intern abroad program requires you to arrive in your host country. So if there's mandatory on-site orientation, then that is included. If there is an immersion portion ahead of time, that you have to be on site for, then that would be your start date. The end date is the day your study or intern abroad program allows you to depart your host country. This can differ if you're enrolling in a foreign institution. Sometimes they give you the dates for local students rather than study abroad students. So it's a good idea to double check and request an acceptance letter from your study abroad advisor. We also, one of the questions as well was about departing. The program defines their program dates one way, but the start date is actually the day they're departing the United States and they're arriving the next day in country. So we would say that the next day, the day you arrive in country, is your program start date. So if the documentation you have has the day you're leaving the US in it, I recommend asking your study abroad advisor for updated documentation. Um, and that can be as simple as the study abroad advisor writing, we are departing on X day and arriving on Y day, or it can change to say the program dates are the days you will be in country.
All right. We have a question here. What do I do if I don't have my passport at the moment to finish the document collection? So I did want to speak just a little bit about the different kinds of documents that we can accept to show proof of U.S. citizenship. The most common one certainly is the passport. You could submit a passport or a passport card. But if you do not currently have that in your possession and you're looking to get your documents submitted early, we do also accept birth certificates and naturalization certificates. Um, the only thing about those documents is that they cannot be expired. And I will also mention that for recipients from Puerto Rico, Puerto Rican birth certificates must be issued after July 1st, 2010 in order to be considered valid, and will need to contain a security sticker in order for us to confirm the validity of that document.
Thanks, Dan. Um, we have a couple questions here about the STEP requirement. So one student asked, for the STEP travel plan, if they are putting in the first city that they're going to in the host country, even though they'll be popping around to different cities in that country. So that's fine. We're mainly looking for confirmation of your travel plan within that country. However, if you want to do city by city, you're welcome to do so, but you'll need to make sure that your screenshot that you submit to us includes all of the locations and that the travel dates listed there match or exceed the travel dates or your program dates in the Gilman portal. Um, so another question is just about what STEP is overall. So it's the Smart Traveler Enrollment Plan by the U.S. Department of State. What you do is you create an account and you log in and you provide your travel plans and details. And this means that if there is a security alert or something like that in the country, you will get an email from them letting you know to be on the lookout or to take precautions. This is a requirement in order to receive your Gilman scholarship. So I really encourage you to open the document collection tile in your Gilman portal. We have step-by-step instructions on how to create a STEP travel plan, as well as a link to a video and example screenshots.
Okay, we have a few questions about the logistics of taking flights to your program abroad, and also a request to run through the airlines again that are compliant for the Fly America Act, so I can touch base on that really quickly. With the Gilman program, we don't give advice on specific logistics for getting to your program. If you are trying to meet up with people on your program and travel together, I would encourage you to reach out to somebody with your program provider in order to set that up. As far as the flights that are compliant with the Fly America Act, again, we ask that you either book your flights using a US flagged carrier, and Delta, American, and United Airlines are all US flagged carriers that would meet this requirement. Um, you can also book your flights using code sharing. That's when a foreign airline shares the same code as a US flagged carrier for an individual flight. And you can also book your flights in compliance with the Open Skies Agreement. And again, the United States has Open Skies Agreements with Australia, the European Union, Japan, and Switzerland.
Thanks, James. We have a question here about International SOS and the Fly America Act. So the student is asking whether they have to wait to complete both requirements until they get their flight information. So for the Fly America Act tile in your Gilman portal, there is a third option there that says I am unsure of my travel plans at this time. I understand that if I am unable to comply with the Fly America Act to travel to my study abroad site, I cannot use my Gilman Scholarship funds to pay for my airfare. So you are welcome to select that if you have not yet booked your flights. For the international SOS requirement, yes, you need to create a My Trips profile, and as soon as you have the information, update it with your flight details. If you have, for example, your flight there and not your flight back, we ask that you put a placeholder date in for your flight back and then update it as soon as you know what your flights are.
Okay, we have a question about reapplying for the Gilman Scholarship if you're participating in a program that lasts multiple semesters. I will say that you can only receive the Gilman Scholarship one time. So if you've already applied and been rewarded the Gilman Scholarship, you are not eligible to apply again, even if the program you're participating in lasts multiple semesters. You are able to defer your award if you would like to. Recipients who were awarded in the October 2025 deadline can defer the program that they list with us for any eligible program starting before October 31st, 2026. If you're in the March 2025 deadline, you can defer to any program that's eligible starting prior to April 30th, 2026. But unfortunately, if you've already been awarded, you cannot apply and be awarded a second time.
Great. And so we have a question here about how far in advance do you need to notify the Gilman program about independent travel if it's something you book while on the trip. So in the Abroad tab of your Gilman portal, which you will gain access to once your recipient requirements are complete and your award documentation is approved, we have an Abroad Travel and Extension tile. You can update this and edit this as many times as you need to. So yes, many of you will not know about independent travel plans now, but you might make travel plans while you're abroad. Please, just as soon as you've made these plans, update your Gilman portal. I just wanted to flag as well that independent or personal travel is not an eligible expense. So you will need to pay for independent travel and trips out of your own pocket. You can find a list of our eligible and ineligible expenses on the Receiving Your Scholarship page of the Gilman website.
Okay, we have a question about acceptance letter documents and what to do if you have not yet been fully accepted into your program. So when we're reviewing the acceptance letter document, we do look for full actual acceptance and not conditional acceptance. So if you haven't been fully accepted into your program yet, you will just have to wait until that document makes its way to you before you submit your documentation for review from our team. That is perfectly fine. We do have a number of recipients that apply and give us information about the program that they intend to apply to. And when they finally receive acceptance, that's when they submit the documents for approval and can receive their payment. And so that's okay if you don't have that document yet. You will just need to wait until you receive that to submit your documentation for approval.
Yeah, so we have a question about reaching out to people on their study abroad program um, or people in that country where they're going. So I would recommend talking to your study abroad advisor and potentially your study abroad program. It all depends on how it's administered to see if they have any um, networks that you can join ahead of time or any recommendations, any ways to meet your fellow classmates before going abroad. In terms of others that are studying within your host country, after you have your award documentation approved, again, in that broad tab, you will gain access to a tile that says the Gilman Scholar Network. This is a closed private group for Gilman scholars and alumni. So you're welcome to join and see if you can connect to any scholars that are going abroad at the same time as you and or also alumni who have gone abroad to that country or location and see if they have any tips or tricks for you.
Okay, we have a question about whether the award can be deferred past the October 31st deadline. And unfortunately for our recipients from the October 2025 deadline or the March 2025 deadline, that is not possible. If you have a program that's starting in February 2027, as indicated in this question, you will need to apply for the Gilman Scholarship again in a future application cycle. We do have an upcoming deadline happening in March 2026. This application will open soon, later in January, for applicants whose programs or internships start between May 1st, 2026 to April 30th, 2027. So if you have a program for Maymester 2026, summer or fall 2026, or the academic year from 2026 to 2027, then we encourage you to apply for that deadline. And that application cycle deadline will be on Thursday, March 5th, 2026. So if you're planning to take part in a program that starts in February 2027, or any other program beyond the deadlines for the application cycle that you initially applied for, we would encourage you to apply again.
Yes, and just so you know, in order to apply again, you first have to decline your Gilman Scholarship. You can do so in that scholarship decision form in the dashboard tab of your portal. There's a question here. As a Gilman Scholar who's going abroad in the spring semester, spring 2026, can they apply to internships in their host country for that summer? Yes, you can. After your program ends, you would no longer be considered a Gilman Scholar. Like James said, the Gilman Scholarship can only be applied towards one program. However, you will need to get in touch with your study abroad advisor or study abroad program to make sure that your your student visa would allow this, allow you to be in your host country for that long and have an internship. In the abroad tab again, in the abroad travel and extension tile, the extension part is where you would let us know if you do an internship for the summer after this spring.
Okay, we have a question regarding the timeline for document approval. I will say that we do review submitted documentation, prioritizing program start date. Since there are many Gilman Scholars with programs that start in January and February, we will be prioritizing reviewing those documentations before those with later start dates, for example, those that start in May or June. I can't provide a specific timeline for when individual documents will be approved. However, we are reviewing submissions as fast as possible. Once we've reviewed your award documents, you will receive an email from us, and that will either explain what changes are needed for us to be able to approve the documents, or just to inform you that your documentation has been fully approved. And at this time, once your documents are fully approved, you can expect to receive your scholarship payment roughly 2 to 3 weeks after the document approval date. If you have an upcoming financial deadline for your program abroad, you might wish to talk to your university bursar or your study abroad advisor, depending on how your program is being administered, about potentially having an extension for that payment deadline. You can also use your Gilman decision and support letters to show that to your program abroad for proof of funding, just to indicate that you will be receiving the funding soon. And you can find those documents in the dashboard tab of your portal. And lastly, we understand that this is not necessarily possible for all students, but if you can, you're welcome to pay for eligible expenses now out of pocket, and then reimburse yourself later on once you receive your Gilman Scholarship funds.
Great. So before we get to your last questions, and please keep adding them to the Q&A chat, we will get to them. But I wanted to share this final screen with you. So this ties into a scholar question about the Gilman advisor. You can find the individual email addresses per region for the Gilman Regional Advisors on the screen, as well as our communal phone line. If you do email, particularly the Europe inbox, that's really helpful to include your program location, as there are two of us that cover European countries. And similarly, if you call and leave a voicemail, please do include your full name and your host country to help us assist you. Um, I also wanted to let you all know that we host other webinars. As we mentioned, there's the pre-departure orientation. There is also the re-entry webinar. We host this one periodically for those who have recently finished their programs, and we will email you registration invitations closer to the time when we're hosting. Um, Again, if you have any questions or concerns, please do reach out to your Gilman Regional Advisor. This contact information is also available in the Gilman portal on the dashboard tab. I do see we have one more question here. So it's asking about the deadline to complete this follow-on service project. So this is not for quite a while. After your program ends, your abroad program ends, you will gain access to the alumni tab. That's where you will finish your remaining Gilman requirements. That includes the follow-on service project report. You'll see there, it will have the deadline listed, but it is 6 months after your program ends. So you have quite a bit of time. If you do end up needing a small extension, you can request one in the portal as well. But yes, unless it's something you're planning on doing while abroad, like an Instagram takeover or something like that, you have lots and lots of time to work on it.
Okay, and we have another question here about whether Gilman tracks the usage of the scholarship and whether recipients need to submit proof of expenses. We do not collect receipts or track proof of expenses from our recipients. We simply encourage you to reference the list of eligible expenses that we have posted on our website. There are a number of in-person eligible expenses that includes program tuition and fees, housing while you're abroad, books or course materials, meals and transportation in the country while you're on program. And there are also a few not eligible expenses that we list on that document. So if you have any questions about that, we encourage you to reference that part of our website. And if you have more specific questions, please reach out to your advisor who would be happy to provide additional guidance on eligible expenses.
Yeah, and just to add to that as well, there may be some eligible expenses that you've already paid out of pocket for and didn't realize. For example, visa fees or passport fees are eligible. So you're welcome to reimburse yourself for those eligible expenses. And we're Looks like we have one more question in the chat. So it's asking about where to contact their advisor. So if you're looking for your Gilman Regional Advisor, please refer to the email addresses on my screen. So for example, if you are studying abroad in Argentina, you would email the Western Hemisphere email address. Finally, if you're asking about where to contact your study abroad advisor, that is through your home institution. So it's the person that certified your application to begin with. So sometimes they have different names: Education Abroad Office, Study Abroad Office, Overseas Education. But whichever version of that works at your home institution, that's who you would be contacting. And it looks like those are all of our questions. So again, just thank you so much for joining today. I hope we were able to assist you, and do not hesitate to reach out to your Gilman Regional Advisor if you have any more questions.